Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Gail, and this is Jamie. Thanks for joining us today. Let's see who is in the chat. We'll be talking about Jamie about all the things she does. She's involved in. She's written 5 books, and she has classes, and she does Reiki and whatever. We're going to get into all that in just a minute. And she's also an ET experiencer. So we're all going to get into that. So let me say hello to these people here in the chat. And let's see. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Susie 007. Hey, Incar. Hey, Cheryl. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, Diane. Let's see. Hey, Faye Cole. Hey, Liz Daly. Hey, Son of Watt. Hey, Lanaya. Let's see. Hey, T-Boy 503. Oh, hey, Nancy Jean. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, Bemuse Shaman. And Rose Almazan, the Healing Rose. Oh, hey, Danny. Hey, Danny. I haven't talked to you in a while. We need to talk here soon because I feel like I need my fix to talk to Danny. Hey, the Sun Catcher. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And as we're going to go ahead and start talking to Jamie about all the things, we're going to be really talking about all the things that she does and the books that she has written and the things that are coming up for her. So it's pretty exciting, actually. First off, me trying to write a book and haven't even published one. The thoughts of somebody publishing 5 is just astronomical. So, all right, let's just start with the general questions, Jamie. Tell me where you are living, where area you are, and just general about you. What you'd like people to know about you.
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to be here. Hello to all of you. And Gail, thank you for inviting me on to the show. I've been really looking forward to this to talk about especially ET experiences.
Right.
And because it's just so wonderful to share and know that there are people who have experienced these same phenomenons that I have. And so thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually living right now in Kansas City, Kansas, but I love to travel. That's my number one thing. I will go anywhere, anytime. Just give me a backpack full of clean underwear, and I'm ready to hit the road.
Have you moved? Have you lived in a lot of different places, or just traveled a lot of places?
A little of both. I have lived in. I'm originally from Kansas City, Kansas, but I lived in England for a year. I was in England for a year. I've lived in Tennessee, New Mexico, and California. And so I've been in several different states. I'm really the type of person that if there is an opportunity to go someplace new that I've never been before, even if I don't know anyone there, I just pack my bag and go. I just live for the adventure.
Yeah, we've been very similar on that. Well, I don't normally do that, but I did do that when I moved to Mount Shasta. I just got rid of everything and just went. So that was something different for me. But anyway, so you're working out of your own studio or your own place, right?
Yes, I do tarot readings, Reiki, chakra balancing, past life regressions, out of a yoga studio in Kansas City, Missouri. It's called the Yoga Patch. And it's just a beautiful, kind of like bohemian place. It just has such great energy. And they offer all kinds of classes and workshops. So not only do I do readings at the yoga studio, but I also do different workshops and classes. I just finished a class on past life regression last weekend, but I do classes on reading tarot cards and classes on chakras and energy work and just all kinds of fun, interesting things.
Oh, good. So for people that want to contact you for any of these classes, you do have I think Susie's put together something for everybody how to contact her. So you can look for if you want an appointment or a class. There's her email address that everybody can write that down and sign up for one of your classes. So now, let's move into your books because to me that's so exciting how you start. I mean, because you talk about traveling and everything, but your first book, just go ahead and tell everybody. Show that to them first. Yeah.
This is the first book. It's called The Sweetness of Life. And this book is very special to me. And the reason it's so special to me is that it's not only about my own personal travels, but it's also about the relationship with my mother. Because I have been traveling to different countries and so on. And I finally had the idea one day that I wanted to see all 50 states. I wanted to drive through all 50 states in America. And to my surprise, my mother suddenly said, I'm coming with you. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be traveling with my mom. And it was just a very beautiful time where we got to reconnect and got to know each other, because this book is basically about our travels through the states. And we, like I said, had that determination we were going to all 50 states, but we only made it to 46 before I lost my mother to colon cancer. So this is not only our journey together on the road, but also our journey through her illness and then her ultimate death. And so this book is just very special to me about my relationship with my mom.
Now, on that journey, and when you're talking about, because I took care of my dad with dementia for 8 years and did a lot of that. We didn't travel. We did do some traveling together, but when you were going through those issues with your mother, the illness and things, and it was coming to her time of death, was it different for you than most people? Were you seeing angels and things around her, or how did that part? Because it's so common for people who are in this, group that see things like that on somebody's passing. So, how was that experience for you?
Well, thank you for asking that, because there's two stories around that are so really touch my heart. The first story is that when my mother was in the hospital, and this was about a week before she crossed over, I walked into her hospital room, and she looked up at me and she was really excited because she said, my dad was here last night. My dad was here last night. And her dad had crossed over 40 years before. But she was so excited that her father had come to visit her while she was in the hospital. And of course, I told her, Mom, that's wonderful. Of course, he was here for you.
Yeah.
Because I believe he was. I just online.
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe he was there.
Definitely.
Yes. The other story, and this was really a strange story because this happened about 6 weeks before she died, because my mother's crossing was very fast. She was diagnosed with colon cancer and then died 5 weeks later. So it was very.
Wow.
And so what actually happened was that my mother was staying with me in California, and she was back in the bedroom when I fell asleep on the couch. And about 2 in the morning, I suddenly woke up and there was an angel by my bed. And the angel looked at me, and she was standing there, very tall, about 7 feet, very tall. She was holding a book in her arms. And the angel looked at me and said, your mother is on the death list.
Oh.
I was like, what are you talking about? What? And she said again, your mother is on the death list. And then she left. The angel was gone. I got up off the couch and I went running back to my mom's room and checked on her, and she was fine, no problems. And I mean, of course, it panicked me. And the next morning when I was talking to my mom, of course, I wasn't going to tell her. Right. Can you imagine someone coming up to you and saying, hey, I had a dream last night that you were on the death list?
Yes.
I'm not telling my mom that. But what was so funny is that a week later, after I had that dream, just a couple of days later, my mom got incredibly sick. A week after the dream, we took her to the doctor, found out she had colon cancer, and then 5 weeks after that, she was gone.
Yeah, my mother passed away that quickly too with lymphoma.
Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing when that just happens? That, and I do think the angel was there to let me know that this was going to take place. I think the angel was giving me kind of a heads up on what was coming.
Right. Well, when my dog Moon passed, about, I would say 6 weeks to 2 months before that, an angel showed up and her name was Ariel. And I was like, okay, who's this Ariel? Who's this Ariel? And I'm looking up, and it is for pets. She's animals and pets. And I'm going, well, I don't ever want to see her again.
It's funny because it's both a blessing and at the same time, it's unnerving. As well too. So yes, I can understand that feeling. I really don't know if I really want to see that angel again. So I can understand that feeling.
Yes. So So your mother passed, and so then had you already written that book, or were you in the process of writing, or was it even an idea at the time?
I have always been a journaler, if that's such a word. I have books all over the place, blank books I just have filled over the years. That's actually how I started off writing. Was just I just have always loved to journal. It's always, and I think the reason I started journaling was because there was something in my head that just kept saying, I want to remember this moment. I really want to remember this moment. I want to write it down.
Yeah, I'm a
And so
journaler
that's what
too. Yeah, I do the same thing. But Cheryl's saying her dad would say that a lady dressed in white would come to him and ask him to go with her. So,
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's
how nice is
amazing.
that?
Do you know if he ever, I wonder if he ever recognized who that woman was or if it was an angel that was coming to
If it's
him?
a lady in white, he must not have recognized her if he identified her
It
that way.
didn't have a name for her. My gosh.
Yeah. So,
That's really interesting. If it even could have been an ancestor
right.
of
But
his, and he may have been going through some ancestral healing as well too.
well, he was asking him to go with her, so I'm guessing it's an angel.
It sounds that way, especially with an angel. Yes.
So you wrote the book then after your mother passed, correct?
Yes, but yes, so much of it I pulled out of journals that I was writing at the time.
Right. And that's
But
me. When I started journaling, I wasn't expecting to be writing a book. And I have a background in medical world, and my medical world is nursing, chiropractic, and we talk in short sentences, abbreviations, and just our terminology. So my books look like that. So to take that kind of record keeping and try to turn it into words and books.
oh, yeah. And that's so funny, Gail, because I have the opposite problem. It's like I want to remember everything. And so I find out like one day of writing is like 10 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Because I detail everything. I even detail what somebody looks like, even
Really?
if I just saw them in the coffee shop.
We need to combine ourselves together when it comes to book writing.
I have to write down every single detail. And I
Yeah.
keep telling myself, you can write more if you didn't get so detailed, but I get obsessive with remembering the details.
Right. Well, I need to.
Well, maybe we can help each other. You can help me be more concise, and
Yeah.
I'll help you.
I'm even a lot more concise even here on the YouTube channel when I'm answering questions. When I have a guest on, they'll go on and talk, and I'm like, like 2 or 3 words, or maybe 1 sentence, and I'm done. And I'm sitting there going, wow, I wish I could be that eloquent. I'm so to the point so quickly. So, so then go ahead and tell us about your second book then.
Oh, well, this one is the sequel to The Sweetness of Life. This one is The Sweetness of Believing. And this just came out in April. And what this book is that, as I said, my mother passed when we only went to 46 states. So this is when I went by myself to the other 4. And my experiences, and the last 4 states that we had to go to was Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, and Alaska.
Oh, okay.
And so this book details my journey through those 4 states and the insights that I've gained from taking that solo trip.
Did you feel like your mother was with you when you were doing that?
Definitely. I really felt like she was there with me, traveling with me. Even when I would mention to people along the way about how my mother and I were traveling through all the states and so on, and how she passed, everybody was saying that to me. Well, she's with you. She's still with you. She's traveling with you. Right. And I truly believe, especially to the fact that I was able to do that. And I'm like I said, a lifelong traveler. I'll go anywhere. But I feel like my mother is my protection on these trips that I take. So I do definitely think she's there watching out for me.
Right. Yes. Okay. So then to the next book. And then the next
I also have Ice Cream, You Scream. And this is my collection of short stories. About 3 years ago, I was trying to be more concise. So I got very much into writing short stories. And this is the collection. And I do want to mention now, before I forget, all of my books have been nominated for the Eric-Hoffer Award now.
Oh,
So
really?
all my books are now up for a national, international award at
Well,
this time. That's
congratulations.
going to be given out in January of 2025. So I'm just very excited about that.
You should be. How exciting. Well, maybe you shouldn't cut down on your words. Maybe it's fine.
Now I'm going to say you were the one who encouraged me that this book now is 700 pages long. But yeah, this is my collection of short stories. This one, God's Adopted Daughter, is my poetry and essays.
Oh,
So of course I'm getting briefer here. My essays are just about a couple of pages, but it's all of my poetry as well too. And I'm actually looking to do another short story collection and a poetry collection very soon.
okay.
And then the final book, Jenna, and this is my first novel. I'm currently in the middle of writing my second one, but this first novel is kind of like a spirit quest. If you've ever read like Celestine Prophecies or something along that line, Alchemist, even though I think The Alchemist is brilliant, I don't think I could ever reach that level. This book is a spirit quest. It's about a woman who dies very young, and she's still so disoriented in her journey to the other side.
Uh-huh.
And all the lessons that she learns when she finally begins to let go of her past lifetime and begins to concentrate on the fact that she is now on the other side. And so it's just about her journey and making that progression.
Well, it seems like that, Jamie, that you're comfortable with death and dying.
I am. And it's really interesting because I think because I'm such a strong believer in past lives and reincarnation
Right.
and things like that, I feel like I am comfortable with that idea. I think that I'm more comfortable with facing my own immortality
Right.
than I am with other people's. Because what's really difficult for me is that I understand death and I understand the process of death, but I don't understand suffering. That's
Yeah.
where I struggle. I don't understand why people have to suffer before they die or suffer in their lifetime. It's suffering that I struggle with, I don't struggle with death though.
Right. So, have you done anything with death and people passing over? I mean, or have you done any kind of counseling in that area, or are you involved in any of that? Because I mean, you just seem very comfortable with it.
Well, it's interesting because I haven't done any grief counseling work. And I kind of hesitate to say that because when I do tarot readings for people and other kinds of readings for people, there's a lot of mediumship work that comes into play.
Oh, definitely.
We can hear a lot. I hear a lot of, I get connections to their crossed over loved ones, their loved ones on the other side.
Yeah.
And so there's mediumship work that comes through that I find really comforts people. In fact, I had this one reading I was doing for someone, and as I was doing the reading, we were in a quiet space, but I just kept hearing the song Freebird playing over and over in my head. I'm like, why am I hearing this? And I finally asked the person I was reading for, I keep hearing Freebird playing. Why am I hearing that? And the person I was talking to started crying. She goes, oh, my dad loved Leonard Skinner. He followed Leonard Skinner across the country, but I just kept hearing that song over and over in my head the whole time I was doing her reading for her. So things like that will come through, and I think that people really appreciate when that happens. So I haven't done any actual counseling, but I've done a lot of mediumship work that I think has brought a lot of peace to people.
That does. Well, you're right, because I've done a lot of mediumship work too, and it does. You don't realize how much it is affecting somebody else because you're bringing in that information, and sometimes I'm going, well, of course they're going to say I love you. So of course they're going to say those same things. I mean, and you're like, okay, what can you bring through that's different that they really know it's you, and they always do. They always come through.
Yeah.
On that, but okay. Well, let's move into now the juicy stuff. Let's do the ET experiences. What everybody's wanting to hear about.
I have several stories to tell you. All right. And when you've had enough, tell me. When you've had enough, if you're listening to me, just let me know. Because one of my favorite things to do, I know this sounds horrible, but I love to sit with people and talk about their paranormal experiences, their ET experience. I could sit up all night talking to people about these things.
Right.
I find it so absolutely fascinating. And what I love, and it's something Gail and you and I were talking about this before the show, is that I feel like when people find the strength to tell their stories, then everybody suddenly feels safe to
Right.
share. And that's what I love. And it's funny because as I've gotten older, I don't worry if people think I'm crazy any longer. I think that's the greatest thing about getting older. People think you're crazy. You don't care.
Yeah.
In fact, you appreciate it. So that's why I can sit and tell stories all night long.
You're not a dull person.
Exactly. Well, the very first experience I remember was when I was a child. And I must have been around maybe 10, 11, 12, somewhere through that age. And I was at home in Kansas with my family. And about every night, for almost like a solid week, every night, everyone in our neighborhood would suddenly see flashing lights. We would see flashing lights. We would hear the sound of just this. I can't make sounds very well, but like this repeated roaring sound would be going on. And I remember the flashing lights that would just come right into the window. Now, at that time, I was terrified by all of this.
Oh, you were?
It scared me. So I wasn't going outside to look, but my brother ran outside and he would watch it. And like I said, every night for a solid week at exactly the same time, this craft would appear in the sky, making that sound constantly, and you would just see the lights just going. And it would be there for a good like 5-10 minutes. I remember thinking that it went on for a very long time. I mean, 5 to 10 minutes you don't think would be that long, but when you're awoken in the middle of the night, you're kind of like, this is never going to stop. And what is this? And so on. And I remember my brother told me, he said, but you could look up in the sky and you just would see these lights going around in a circle. All right. Now, nobody ever let us know. And I mean, like government or anything like that would let us know exactly what we were seeing.
Were you in
Kansas?
Were you in Kansas City at that time?
Yes, this was in Kansas City. But what was really interesting about that was that every afternoon after this phenomenon would happen, every single night, every morning, afternoon, there would be Black Hawk helicopters circling around.
Really?
And so that's something that really was intriguing to us. It's like, why are all the Black Hawk helicopters here every single morning circling our neighborhood?
Right.
So it kind of made everyone think, hey, we are seeing something here. And like I said, the fact that it went on so long for about a week and then it was over, it was gone. We never saw it again.
So nobody had missing time or anything like that. Nobody got abducted. It just showed up every night for a while.
It just showed up every night for a while. Okay. I didn't hear any stories about anybody being abducted or anything. I only remember people, and this was a long time ago at my age now. It just keeps getting longer away. But I don't remember hearing stories of anyone being hurt, abducted, anything like that, missing time. But I just remember hearing about the helicopters and seeing the helicopters the very next day. All right. So that was the first thing that happened. But it was really interesting to me because all my life, I feel like I've had visitations for the most of my life. And I've always thought that they were angels. Angels appear in my room, angels holding my hand, touching me, things like that. I always thought they were angels. Well, one night I went to a conference that was being held by a woman by the name of Margie Kay. And she was kind of like she has books out. She's been kind of an expert on UFO encounters. And she was talking about all of her own encounters. And I'm sitting there listening to her and thinking, oh my gosh, that happened to me. Oh my gosh, that's what I went through. Oh my gosh, I remember that experience. And so at the end of her lecture, when she asked for any questions or comments, I raised my hand and said, everything, almost every experience that you mentioned was something I had experienced too, about entities being in my room, about being touched, about being healed. I said, I experienced all of that, but I always thought they were angels. Now I'm thinking, could it be ETs? And I asked her, I said, how can I know the difference, whether it was ETs or angels? And she just calmly looked at me and said, does it really matter?
Well, they do to me. Angels and ETs have a lot of the same vibration or the feel. I mean, when you're doing mediumship and people who pass, that's a different feeling. And
Yes.
so I think it is that would be the hardest group to decide between angels and ETs.
It's so funny because when I asked her that, she said, does it really matter? It took me aback for a moment. I was like, that's her answer. I was like, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right. Doesn't matter.
Right.
I know that there was something there. I know there was something touching me. I know there was something around me.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was some form of ET. And ET just means extraterrestrial, meaning not of this earth. So I know there was an ET there, whether it was ETs or angels. It was there with me. And so the more I thought of it that way, I was in the mindset of maybe it doesn't matter, right? Maybe it doesn't make any difference. But it was really strange when she said that because I'm like, Then someone told me later that there's a very strong connection between ETs and angels. There's always a connection between the two. And it's probably what you're talking about, Gail, about having almost like that same frequency. Right. Vibrancy. That's probably what it is. But I have two more stories I want to share with you if we have time.
Yeah. Oh, we have plenty of time.
Oh, one of the stories happened recently. It happened about 6 months ago. And I'm back here in Kansas City, living in Kansas City, Kansas. And I went out for a walk one night. I love to go for midnight walks. There's just something about the night sky that I always feel resonates with me. So I love to go out and walk and look at the stars and look at the moon. And so this one night I'm out walking around and I looked up the moon and I thought, wow, the moon is really bright tonight. I don't think I've ever seen it that bright. It's really bright. And it was a half moon. Oh. But when I looked up at the moon and thinking how bright it was, I suddenly realized it was turned in the wrong direction. Because instead of the round part of the moon being to the side, I'm like, oh my gosh, the round part of the moon was pointing up.
Really?
And I'm like, wait a minute, that cannot be the moon.
Yeah.
Because you would think in the half moon, you would see it to the side, not to the top. And I'm watching, I'm like, that is not a half moon. I am seeing something completely different there. And while I'm watching it, all of a sudden, because like I said, it was a bright, bright white light, all of a sudden I see this speck of white light shoot off away from it. And I'm watching it shoot off and away from it and going, I was like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
Something flew off of this. And as I'm watching it, suddenly the clouds suddenly came over it. Really heavy clouds came over it. And when the clouds left, the craft was gone. Or the moon or whatever it was gone.
Yeah.
And so I was just really intrigued by that. What could that have been? And so I do think that I may have seen a craft throughout that time and something just jettisoned off of it.
Sounds good.
So that was really intriguing. But the last thing that happened, and I hope this is something that someone can shed a little light on, because there was something that happened to me when I was living in California. And to this day, I really puzzle over it. And any explanation someone can give me, I would really love. I'm in my home in California, and I'm sleeping on the couch. All right. And the way I'm sleeping is I'm turned so that my face is to the back of the couch, and my knees are bent, and my legs are resting up on the back of the couch. And so my whole back is exposed.
Right.
So I'm lying there on the couch, and all of a sudden I felt something just wham against my back. And my eyes popped open. I was like, what was that? Something just hit me in the back. And the minute I felt that hit against my back, suddenly my whole back started vibrating. And I could feel this energy shooting through my back, from my shoulders down to my hip. So my whole back is just vibrating with this energy. And then it felt like somebody was pressing up against me and against my back. And my first thought, and of course this is crazy, my first thought was, oh my gosh, someone broke into my apartment and they're spooning me. I'm like, why would somebody say breaking my apartment just to spoon me? Like, somebody just
We've heard of a lot of weird things.
they're here, they're spooning me. Oh my gosh. And that dawned on me that, wait a minute, they can't be spooning me because couch isn't big enough.
Right.
So they weren't breaking my apartment just do that. And the couch isn't big enough for two beings.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Why am I feeling this pressure? And I mean, it was just pushing against my back. And all of a sudden, as I started to turn over, up at the top of my head was another energy. And at the top of my head, I suddenly heard this other voice saying, don't turn over. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then I felt somebody stroking back my hair. They were just stroking back my hair. And they were saying, don't turn over, don't look at it. And this whole time, I'm still feeling this pressure against my back. But I keep hearing this voice and the stroking of my hair saying, don't turn over, don't look at it. And suddenly I heard the voice say, pray. I was like, oh, Jesus, please help me. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. Please, please, I don't know what it is. But I still kept feeling this pressure, still hearing the voice saying, don't turn over, don't look at it. And then all of a sudden, I felt this energy wrap around to the front of my legs. Because as I said, my knees are bent, my legs are pressed up against the couch. I felt somebody grabbing onto my knees and pulling me over and turning me over. And they got me over onto my back when all of a sudden I was just like, no. And I rolled myself back over again. And the minute I shouted no and rolled myself back over again, everything stopped. All the energy was gone. I no longer felt the person at the top of my head. I no longer felt the pressure on my back. Now, I don't know if I was being abducted at that time. I don't know what was happening, but that was one of the strangest. I got at my apartment, at my couch, walked around my apartment. I didn't see anything odd, nothing out of place. All the doors and windows were locked. I don't know what happened.
Well, you did the correct thing, and this is a lesson for everybody in this chat, that you're stronger than any entity that enters your house or room or bedroom or whatever. And whenever it might scare you or the thing might scare you that comes in, just like she did, she screamed at it no. She was nice to say no. I say cuss words at it. so, but the reaction was the same. And for everybody, as anything like that or anything that's going on and you're not feeling comfortable with the energy that you're feeling that's happening with you. And if she had somebody who was stroking her hair at the same time, who was trying to support her through this situation. But this is just a lesson for everybody. You're stronger than whatever comes around you, and that you can always say no. Yeah, I go screaming at it, start cussing at it. And,
well, it's funny because I just reacted. Right. At the time, because I think I was just so afraid of what this is. And especially when I felt like that other energy was telling me, don't turn over, don't look at it. Right. I did feel like it was very protecting. And I associate with angels because, like I said, someone had told me before, angels and ET sometimes are connected. But it's really interesting because someone else told me that what sounds like with the stroking back of your hair, it sounds like it could have been your mother coming through too. Right. To help you out in this situation. But I wonder if I was being abducted at that time. And
well, I don't know that was your mother, because I think you would have recognized her.
That was kind of my thought too.
Right. What I feel like it was actually another ET that was trying to protect you, that had come in, saw that was going on, trying to protect you, telling you not to turn over, don't look at it, and just trying to comfort you during that time, trying to support you. But it had to be you that said no, because they cannot interfere with your free will.
That's true. Exactly. And I'm so glad, Gail, that you made that point about the fact that, of course, they can't interfere with your free will. But thank you so much for saying that. About, we've got to remember that we are stronger than any energy that can come in. And that's why, honestly, I have a lot of people sometimes coming in for a reading and saying, I think I've been cursed. And something I always tell people is that if you feel like you've been cursed, then maybe you need to look at your own energy. Right. Because you may have found a weakness. They may have been able to find a weakness within your own energy so that they can manipulate you. So now it's time to take a step back and look at your own energy.
Yeah, a shaman will look at it as this, like a missing piece, and they have figured out that missing piece and have attached to you or try to attach to you. And so the shamans know how to work with all that kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. But it was so strange though with that apartment in California because I almost felt like that was energy central. I had all kinds of strange things
Where,
happening in that
where in
apartment.
California did you live?
I'm sorry.
Where in California were you?
Oh, this was in Palm Springs,
Oh, Palm
in the
Springs.
desert cities.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, I was in Mount Shasta, and of course, there's
Oh yes.
a ton of energy there, and everybody always asks me when I was there, "Do you ever see a spaceship?" I'm going, "It's more like when don't you see a spaceship?" They're always there. They're always in the sky. They're always around. So it got so used to, in fact, being back in South Carolina. When I was here before, I would see one maybe every 3 or 4 months. I'd see a spaceship. So
Mhm.
now I kind of miss not seeing one every night or every day or
Yeah,
there all the time. I kind of miss that.
I would too. I would too because I think that is um, such a big part of your life, and I
Right.
think that when you have these experiences, you don't forget about them
No, no.
because they're very profound. They're very profound when they happen.
And then there's so many who don't talk about it, can't talk about it, but this is the safe place to talk about it. We have great moderators who watch the chat, and we got Susie watching the chat that makes sure is a safe place for us all to express our experiences and to be okay about them.
Yeah, I think that's great to have this forum.
Yeah.
I really do. I think you're doing a great work with allowing people to talk about their experiences. I think that needs to happen. I think that if we're going to change anyone's perspective of what's out there and what's beyond ourselves, we have to have a forum to do it. And
There's
I
like
think this is great that you have this show.
I've got BJ here saying, I had an energy attached to me 2 weeks ago, and I have had to detach it myself by talking to it and using blue sage. It's the energy. My energy needed to be raised. Yes, that is probably whenever I'm working with somebody who has an attachment and needing to get rid of it. That's probably exactly what I do, BJ. It takes a participation on that person. Some people will come to me and go, just get rid of it, thinking that one and done and it's gone. But that person has to do just as much work. They have to raise their vibration. They have to that is a lot of work on that because you just don't sit there. As I said, sometimes it's a missing piece that they get attached to, but you have to work on that portion of you. You have to raise your vibration. You have to learn all these kind of things. And it's a pretty rigorous thing to make sure you don't attract to an attachment like that. And also to keep your vibration up, but where they're not even interested in you anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's such wonderful advice, Gail. That's so great what you're telling people because it's nobody can manipulate you or
Right.
curse you without your permission. So it's
Yeah.
really coming from you and your own energy. And I have people, how do you feel about this, Gail? I'm going to throw a question at you. Um, I have several people who are always coming in and asking about that idea of curses and so on. And I have people sometimes telling me that they're afraid to meditate because they're afraid of attracting negative energy.
Right.
And one of the things I try to let people know is I always remind them of the law of attraction, like attracts like. And so when you are meditating, try to make sure that you personally are in a good space, that you are sending out love and light. And that's what you're going to attract back. But how do you feel about that, Gal? How can people stop from attracting negative energy?
Well, as I said, they have to work on increasing their vibration and what is the thing that is, and that's not just a simple answer because each person is different on
Yeah.
what they're suffering through or what their past that they've had to suffer through. But even when I'm going in meditation, I already start off like opening up my chakras and bringing in Archangel Michael and putting a bubble around me,
Yes.
and also pulling in the violet flame before I even go in meditation. So I'm only allowing high vibrational energy and thoughts and things into that meditation. And but whenever anything does negative show up, you just, as I said, just yell at it, scream at it, and go away, and they will. It's amazing. They immediately go away.
Yeah.
Anything that feel right. So that's what I would tell them if they're going into meditation and worrying about that. Just always say, you're stronger than they are. You're stronger than
Exactly.
and a lot of times when we do go from like level up to a next part or a next vibrational, sometimes you're going to get challenged because you're a beacon of light out there, and they don't want you to raise that vibration. They don't want you to be that beacon. So you might come be challenged, and readers get challenged whenever they're going up also. But it's learning how to handle it, learning it to say no, learning how to yell at, learning just don't let that affect you. Learn how to work with it and not let that affect you, to bring your vibration down. And fear is the biggest thing they want you to be, is afraid. So you have to work on all those aspects. There's just a lot to it, and everybody is an individual, and everybody has different individual experiences, and everybody has different traumas and things that they need to work through. So it's really hard just to blanketly say this is what somebody's facing when they're meditating. The only thing I can say is you're stronger than whatever comes your way, and you have free will. You just say no.
Exactly. And I think it's so great when you mention fear, because fear plays into the negativity.
Right.
And I think it just makes the situation worse.
Right. Right. And who was saying they wanted to listen to me cussing in my southern voice, or southern cussing was best, or something like that. And Susie, you threw up something there earlier. I thought, did I miss? I think southern cussing is the best.
Yeah.
So, did you put something else up there also, Susie? I'm not sure. I can see Susie. You can't, Jamie. That's why I'm talking to her. She's in the background. But so yeah, is there anything? Let's see, Captain Morgan. I used to live in Palm Springs. Loved it. I saw a spaceship over my home in 4 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think there's always been this idea that there are just different vortexes around the world, and everyone, of course, knows of Sedona being the vortex. But I also heard that about Palm Springs, and it just brings in that energy because of the energy that's already there. A lot of desert cities will do that around the world. Will bring in this, just have this vibration that brings in this energy.
Yeah.
So how amazing.
Yeah. So, Kathleen Garrison, I feel like I'm in a warrior class. That's right. Let's put up. Yeah. Whenever I go into battle, when I've seen myself in the past, I'm always a Nocturian. I'm always carrying a sword, and I'm ready for battle. And that used to be when I started helping people with their negative entities. That's how I would show up. If it was a difficult negative entity, I mean, first I would start off with myself, and then when they pissed me off, that's when I would turn into a Nocturian with my sword, and that would be the end of that.
I think that's incredible. That's wonderful. I think that's putting that energy forth.
Right.
And I think that really does help you find that strength you need and that courage that you need.
Right.
To do that work.
So, all right. Is there anything else you want to tell people? See if anybody has some questions here for you.
Okay.
And I think we've been getting some good questions all through our statements. But is there anything, last things that you would like to tell everybody?
Well, I just appreciate everyone listening. I've enjoyed this experience working with you, Gail, and with Susie. I've really enjoyed meeting both of you and working with you. I'm just very happy to be here, and I love working with people and helping out any way I can. As I said, I love to listen to stories of what people have experienced. And just please contact me if there's anything that I can do to help you, either with readings or just even if you feel like you need someone to tell your story to. I'd love to hear
it. Okay. Well, thanks, Jamie, for joining us. Thanks, Susie, for your help. Thanks, moderators, for being here. And thanks, everybody, for being here. I'll be back on Saturday with Terry, who's back from England from her trip. With her on Saturday. So we'll see y'all on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.